Before we do the magic, although I did knit clear over, this is what you'll wind up with, okay? You're going to get, just like you started, you're going to have your 7 stitches of fringe and 3 stitches of the main body of it left. And then we're going to bind those off. But before I do that, I had a million flaws in this yarn. And so what I did is I'd cut the flawed part out, and it would be just like this. It was just kind of an unraveled part with a big snag. And so I wove it in with a crochet hook. And then what you do, I don't think, yes I did, I can edit that out. I didn't know if I pushed that on or not. So you weave it with a crochet hook back and forth so it's buried in your loopy things here. And then as you do that, you gently stretch it a little bit so that it'll pull. And then snip those off without hopefully cutting a stitch, right? Which I've done. And that isn't perfect. I think when I was younger I could do it perfect, but this was really funky because I caught it right at the last minute that it had a bad spot in the yarn. And so I'm going to do one. Here's another one. This is what it looks like. So when I had a bad spot, I cut it out, and I had this left over. And what my plan was is to save these to show you guys how you would weave them in. And like I said, you just get under the loops that kind of stand up, pull it under it. And you don't want to pull yarn across an open space. You want to keep it hidden in these loops. Because if you do it right, it's just invisible. Now see, that looks pretty good. I can't really, can you guys see that? It was over here and you can't really see it there. And if I pulled it too tight, it would show. But you just want it to be woven in under the little rows kind of. So you would do that about 1 inch on each one, and then just cut the part that's sticking out. And again, just keep doing little stretches to relax it into the thing. What is that? So see, here's more. It's just black yarn. Oh, phew. I thought, oh my gosh, now what? It had a couple I already fixed too, so it had 4 flaws in it, in the yarn, which was just super. Okay, so the instructions say to knit when you're at the end, knit 7 stitches, remove the marker, and bind off the remaining 3. And I went ahead and knitted them, so I'm going to take those back off. I'll back up. So I'm just slipping them back onto the left needle and pulling the yarn out that made the stitch, because we're going to bind off now. And notice I carried my marker all the way through, because then I never had to count these. I just kept going, but everybody has their own system, and that's fine. So there's the 7 stitches. That's the fringe. Okay, again, bind off remaining 3 stitches and pull yarn through the last stitch. This is what we were working for to get to the fun. So to bind off, you're going to knit, pass this first stitch and knit over. Got to really put some tension on this yarn so you don't lose it. Knit, pass that stitch over. Okay, and that leaves that loop, and that's the part they said you're going to snip this yarn and you're going to pull it through that last stitch, and that completes binding off 3 stitches, and it's going to look like your other end right here that you did. And this is the scary part. I remember when I first did this, I thought, oh no. So now drop all the 7 stitches that are left on the needle. So you're gonna take them off. I always think when I did this, there'd be this big long trail of yarn, but there's not. Now watch it not work. Here we go. And that's why you don't want to use fuzzy yarn. So see, these are slipping out super easy because I'm just pulling on it. Well, no, I used mohair. It was really bad. You can imagine. I mean, I had to pick it. So just by pulling it, it'll loosen up these stitches, and then you've got a big thread here to pull.
You could probably use a crochet hook to pull too, just...
Yep, you could. Isn't it cool?
It is cool.
So look at that. And I kept thinking, okay, when you start to pull, you're going to wind up with like 3 feet of yarn out here. But you don't, because you're just pulling. Yeah, it's just those, because, and this has got it locked in because we did that nice increase and decrease. I really think that's the whole trick to it. Also with the mohair, because it was fuzzy, I couldn't tell, and that's the one I did get off on when I had 7 stitches on each side. And it did go up and down a little bit, but you couldn't see it because it was so fuzzy. So that's it, ladies, and just keep pulling. And then I'll get this pulled, and then I'll come back and show you how you can block it. I'm probably making that wiggle. How you can block it, because this turned out quite bulky. I'd recommend, I'm just talking to it, using sport weight yarn or sock yarn, because this turned out to be quite a bit bigger than I intended. So I went ahead and blocked the fringe, which just means I put it on a towel, set my iron to high and steam, and it flattened the fringe out that was all corkscrew and curly, and it really turned out nice. This actually looks a lot better than it has the whole time I've been knitting it. So I'm pretty happy with that. And it's still big. It's still kind of a little bulkier. I'd like it to drape more, so I would definitely use the thinner yarn. This is a light worsted weight. But yeah, turned out okay. So there's the fringe triangle scarf. Hope you enjoy making them.